Hello, everybody, and welcome to FloTrack. I'm Livek Pone, joined with Ryan Fenton, and we have a very special guest joining us inside Flo Sports HQ, Trey Hardee.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I was just having flashbacks of like early FloTrack stuff. Like White Pearl kind of stuff.
White Pearl,
like,
major throwback.
Like, hey, we need some content. Trey, would you want to do something? I'm like, I've been waiting all summer for you to ask me to do something.
Well, we're so happy to have you back. I want to go over your resume, and then we're going to just dive into everything because we're literally just days away from the opening ceremonies of Paralympics. You're about to be getting on a plane very soon and out. So a little bit of background on Trey Hardee, Olympic silver medalist in 2012 at the London Games, two-time world outdoor champion, world indoor heptathlon silver medalist. You're also four-time U.S. champ.
I forgot about indoors.
You're also the NCAA champ. You're 13th all-time on the scoring list with 8,790 points, which you did back in 2009. You were recently inducted into the Hall of Fame for Texas, 2017.
Yeah.
Ryan Fenton with the stats between 2006 and 2015. You were ranked top 3 in the world 7 times. I don't know if you knew that, but you also held the NCAA decathlon record for 11 years from 2006 to 2017, and then also the NCAA indoor heptathlon record for 4 years from 2006 to 2010.
We gave you everything.
We gave you everything.
That was
right there.
literally everything.
Yes.
And have appeared in like 30 FloTrack videos.
We did not have that stat. We actually could pull that pretty easy.
Yeah.
Next time.
There was some Flow Coach stuff in there that I'm a little embarrassed about now, but yeah, I'm in there quite a bit.
Olympic Games is coming up, right? You've had experience, not once, right? We talked about the silver medal, but that's one of those highs when you talk about Olympics. I'm kind of jumping right into highs and lows here, but you've experienced all sides of this, right? So you made the games in 08, you no-heighted. You made the games in 12, you medaled. You got injured before trials in 16 and didn't get to go. So it's like you've seen all sides of that process of the Olympic year. Like, describe to us what's it like for an athlete trying to get to the games, this pinnacle moment.
Man, I had the fortune of actually getting to go back to the games and commentate in 16, and then again in 21, and again this summer, like you said. And I've mentioned it this year on air. There's kind of 3 kinds of athletes. I hope I don't mess up my own words, but there's the ones that are just starting to realize their talent, and they went to the Olympic trials to just test the waters and see what this is all about, and see if, like, all right, do I think I could be good enough to do this? Is like my dream strong enough to do this? And then there's the athletes that are just a little bit beyond that knew if they went in there and like had a day, or if you're a multi-event had 2 days and just had the meat of their lives, hey, I could sneak onto this team, or I could get the Olympic standard. And then there's the professionals. There's like the ones that are going in there, and if I do what I do, I'm going to be an Olympian. All of those things in the last 2 categories are so much heavier than I think people realize. I think you go in with, oh, it's just another track meet, whatever. And then you get there and you're like, oh man, okay, yeah, this is a big deal. There's a lot of people here. Like, oh, look at all those cameras. And you realize, and you start getting the messages from people back home, like, we're cheering for it. Like, your elementary school teachers are all like, my class loves you so much. Look at the posters. You're like, stop it. Like, stop it. Look, let me just do my thing and stop telling me about all this stuff. And that's where you see athletes that show up and fold. Like I did it in 08. You see athletes where the moment is too big. And it's not like the moment's overpowering and shadowing over them. It just becomes this thing that like sneaks up on you. And then you also see the people that rise to the occasion, that rise up, like the Sydney McLaughlin-Lavronis, like the Ryan Krausers, like the ones that show up and no moment is too big, and they're out there kind of free and just letting their body do what they've trained it to do. And you can't duplicate any of that kind of stuff in training. You can't recreate any of that stuff with any domestic meet, any big meet, right? It's the biggest, grandest stage on the planet, and that currently exists.
I have a two-part question that kind of ties into the emotion that you were talking about. For you personally, when did it hit you, let's just talk back in 2008, when did it hit you that you were going to the Olympics for the very first time? Was it when you're waving the American flag at trials, or was it like you're on the plane heading there? Or was it when you were actually in the Olympic Village and you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening?
That's a good, I think a little bit at each moment, like a little bit every single time. The first moment was even before the 1500, the last event of the decathlon. Before that, I knew I'm top 3. Like pending pulling my hamstring in the middle of the 1500, which doesn't happen. That was like mini celebration. Like, I can't believe I just made the Olympic team. And me and my coach kind of had a mini celebration, high fives and hugs and stuff. And then he fired me up to go, run myself up from 3rd to 2nd. And I ran hard, but I didn't enjoy the thing, but I ran hard, but I had a good time. I waved to Jacob Hernandez in the crowd during the 2nd lap. I was like, hey buddy, took it seriously, but I ran myself on to 2nd place, and then crossing the line was it's done, it's official. They hand you the little flag and you're like, what? What is happening? Is this real? This is real, right? I can't believe this. And then you get your kit, you get the uniform. They send that uniform to your house, and you open up that bag and you're like, first of all, no one else has it. Just us. It hasn't been distributed, the junior teams don't have it. It's all this. This is us. This is only us. And I think I slept in it maybe that night, So that's another moment that it just lands and it just hits. And then it can go one of those two ways. You show up and you're at the village and you're walking around just so proud to have that emblem and that flag on your chest and your back and wherever else they put that thing, and just walking around that's right, boys. The Australian team's walking by, the Thailand, whoever, the table tennis people, and you're just I wonder what they do. They don't know what I do, and the village is a pretty special place. It's pretty cool, and you're just surrounded by greatness, true greatness, right? And then, showing up, actually getting to the track, in lane 6, U.S. 2nd place. It's got a personal best of, 10, 20, whatever. Trey Hardee, the United States. It's not Trey Hardee of Nike, Trey Hardee of Texas, Trey Hardee of Alabama. It is the United States. And then you're here we go. And it hits you at multiple different stages.
So you described kind of that moment can kind of carry so much weight and be so big, right? So when you're finally in that stadium, it's kind of a reflection of what you've gone through and what you'd maybe recommend to athletes, right? You had that moment in 08 it sounds like it was almost too big, and you were in the hunt, right? I think you were 4th place at the time when you no-heighted. So you come back 4 years later and you medal. What did you learn, and what is your advice to athletes when they actually get to that moment to not let that moment become too big?
If there was a perfect answer, then everyone would get it, and no one would ever perform poorly, and it would never happen. But for myself, what I started to learn a little bit more of was how to find the balance between taking it seriously and also not taking it so serious. I didn't really smile at all in Beijing. Didn't enjoy my time. I was there to I'm gonna win a medal. I'm here to win a medal. I'm finally here. I'm gonna show the world what's up. Instead of oh man, isn't this cool? A couple weeks out, I chose not to go see the Great Wall because I was no, I gotta stay off my feet. I gotta chill out. 2 weeks before the thing, I learned how to just live a normal life and know that the work that I had done was enough, and nothing I was gonna do was gonna like take away from that. And so, yeah, I like went and did laundry like the day before the next World Championships in Berlin. I was sitting there and I was thirsty, and I was like, oh, there's a beer vending machine? I'm gonna have a beer. And I ended up having 2 beers. The night before, I had one of the best meets of my career and won a world championship. Because I wasn't taking it so seriously. And I found myself over the next 2 days there smiling and enjoying the camaraderie and enjoying the scenery and being where I was, and how special just that presence was. And then I took that into the next season, and especially in 2012 in London, I just was really grateful for the experience that I had had, and like the road back and having the reconstructive surgery and just wasn't supposed to be there, and was just playing with house money. And I think that's kind of the mindset I took into everywhere, was just like, I'm so fortunate to be here. I can either look back on this like I do 08 without a lot of positive memories and good memories, even off the track, or I can look back on it with just, oh man, remember when we did that? That was so fun. Like this, and this. Like I have memories from Moscow and from Beijing and London in 17 that like, those meets did not go well for me. But I look back on them with like incredible fondness for things I got to do with my family and friends and all that kind of stuff. So really way too long of an answer, but just relax and have fun. And it's so easy to say that. It's so easy to say that. But that was the key for me, and I had to fail and do it wrong a couple times to figure that out.
What were some of those favorite memories that you have outside of competition?
I don't know if I can share some of them. But just it's kind of you're with, no matter how relaxed and how much fun you try to have, it's still an intense environment. It's the real deal. It's big time, and these are the greatest athletes in the world. And so when you want to go out and have a good time, you go out and have a good time. You cut loose, you dance, like you just do, like, I don't know, it's just this cathartic like release of energy, like it just is beautiful. And you get to see the world. I got to see Beijing, I got to see Moscow. Like not many people can say they've seen one, if not both of those places. So it really was about just, it doesn't matter what you're doing, just get out of your hotel room,
Mm-hmm. I love that advice. All right, I want to switch gears and I want to talk about TV coverage now. You've had the experience on both sides. You've been an athlete. Now you're transitioning into an analyst as well, and you've been part of the TV broadcast for some time. How's that transition been for you? Was it a challenge, just knowing that you know so much about being an athlete, but now you're taking all that knowledge and you're literally the voice of the broadcast for us people watching it at home?
It sucked in 2016, honestly. So getting to go to Rio was great, but the moment Sonia Richards and I both had similar experiences. We were injured. We couldn't make the team. It was just, it was too soon. It was just not going to happen. And we get the call. We both say emphatically, heck yeah, I'll go to Rio. But then you step foot in the stadium, put on the headset, and you're watching people that in the back of your head, you're like, man, if I was healthy, you're like, man, I missed it. I wanted to be out there, and it was super bittersweet. And it went by in a flash. It was so fast. And then I still had another year on my contract, so I competed the next season, won the U.S. championships, and got to London, and didn't go well, but then took 2 years away. Went back to school and came back in 2019. And in 19, it started to feel like this, another grateful thing, like what an awesome way to get to stay in contact with the sport that I love, to get to, and the word I use is steward or shepherd. Like I get to be this like caretaker and present the sport that I love the way that I see it, like with joy and wonder and like wow, like do it with a smile on my face for what athletes these days are able to do. Yeah.
What's like the hardest part of that transition now in the broadcast booth, right? You know, and you have this knowledge. There's probably limited windows where you can speak to what's going on and how special it is. Like, how do you kind of manage describing to people what's happening, but also maybe having some limitations in like how you're able to do that from a broadcast perspective?
That is the hardest part. Is the window. You know, making a television show is not the same as sitting in the bleachers talking to somebody about the pole vault. There's not enough time. Like, it takes people years to understand that event. I'm not going to be able to do it in 20-second clips, right? That's I don't know if that's so much of a challenge as it's kind of, it's the frustration of it all. It just is part of it. We're making a TV show. How do we make the very best version of this thing that we can? But honestly, some of the harder parts is, I think, from the field event side, everything's so technical and these people are so good. They're doing 99 things correctly, but one of them is the reason that shot put went out of the sector. And not to be negative, but to convey, here's what they need to do better to make this next one happen. And you can cross a line in saying, like, here's what they did wrong, when that's actually something they try to do with their coach, you know? Like, hey, this is actually what makes me really good, is that when I cut it, you know, when I cut my right in front of my left quickly, that's what gets me my power. And you're like, oh, sorry, you know? Like, it actually looks terrible, you know? and so we actually talked about it with my bosses about leaning more into maybe like the disappointment of those moments versus like the technical flaws, which it always bugs me watching a broadcast when you're watching somebody pole vault or high jump and the analyst is just being negative, like just being hypercritical of this amazing guy that just jumped 7'5" or something like that. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, he just won NCAAs, don't talk about what was wrong with the jump, you know? So it is difficult because the field events are inherently, you're seeking perfection. There is a lot of negativity, but yeah, being positive, fitting it into a 20-second window, and just trying to thread the needle of like, here's what they need to do better, all while being, yay.
Well, and also, like, I think you do a good job of, you know, it's like you can get as technical as your mind is. You did all these events, so you know it in and out. But like, when it's a special moment, you do a good job of, you hear it in your voice, right? So it's like you can explain all the technical things in the world, but people know that you as an athlete, oh wow, he got really excited. This is a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
You try to. And then even like the biggest moments, you don't say anything at all. Okay, I'm gonna go back and answer again. The hardest thing to do is to lay out and just say nothing. That is the hardest thing to do. You see something incredible, you just want to be like, oh my gosh, they did it, they did this, oh, that was perfect, watch this thing, look at that, look at his right hand, look at this, or just nothing for like 30, 45 seconds, let all the natural energy of the stadium and the athlete and the emotions, let that tell the story instead of like, you guys need to know why that was good. Like, sitting on that is super hard. That's hard.
When you think about preparing for the Olympics, obviously there's a lot more athletes that you're covering. Is there a difference in how you go about preparing for the Olympic Games broadcast versus like Prefontaine or a different meet or like trials?
I mean, it's more of a global thing. Now we domestically you're setting up some international characters, but for the most part, I want to highlight Americans. I want to highlight people that are going to be on prime time, that are going to represent the country in Paris. We develop those stories over time, but then at the Olympics, this is a bigger, broader thing where, hey, sorry, like, no Americans are going to make the final, or maybe one American might sneak into a final, right? And so the Olympics is a lot more work. It's a broader obviously a broader athlete base. But to me, it's just, it's a lot more interesting too. I think it brings out the best in like the American athletes to go compete against, stop beating up on themselves, stop just kicking each other's butts at trials and getting out there and like, now we're on the same team. Instead of us being against one another, now we're on the same team and we're going up against the rest of the world. And it's kind of like that in preparation. Like, okay, who has a chance to beat an American here, and how do we tell a story about where they're from, what they're doing, their journey to being here, and like Yaroslav Mahuchik comes to mind, like just set the world record, but her story for the last 2.5, 3 years has just been fraught with like heartache and struggle, and all the way down to a lot of people that she grew up with are gone, and how she's been able to stay focused, much less compete, find a place to train, still try to get to see her family and represent the Ukraine, or not the Ukraine, but represent Ukraine as well as she does at 22 years old, like is absolutely astonishing. So it opens us up to tell more of those kinds of stories.
You're talking about some events now, so curious, what events are you most looking forward to, and any bold predictions for those events?
Am I limited to field events? I could be limited.
No, I mean, this is your world, your sandbox. Play in it.
Yeah. Something just makes me feel like, and no one's a bigger fan of Ryan Krauser than myself. We recruited him really hard. I trained with him for 4 years, called all his world records. I think that it's Joe's time. Like, Ryan's been dealing with a lot of injury, and it wouldn't surprise me if he wins. But surprise of the meet would be, I think Joe can pull it off. He was fit. He's been fit all season. He's healthy. He's kind of ready. It's kind of a now or never. There may not be another games. We'll see, but it just is. It's like the table's kind of set for that, and that's what in my head I'm trying to prepare for. What ifs, That's a big one in there, and then.
Is that just to clarify? Is that might happen, or is that a Trey Hardee bold prediction?
I'm such a
Putting him on the spot.
I'm such a wuss that I'm afraid to say that's my prediction.
Is it because Ryan's going to call you immediately?
I think a lot of people are rooting for Joe, and it's not against Ryan. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think if the Italian, if Fabri doesn't show up and throw lights out, there could be a U.S. sweep on the podium. But I think it just feels like, you just got that feeling like, this could happen. This could happen. And that would be a shock. That would be a legitimate, like, wait, what? So I think that would be a pretty remarkable final to see, where every throw you're just waiting. You're just wait, okay, is Ryan going to do it? Is Ryan going to do it? But then again, he could come out in the first round and throw like 23-50 and be like, oh, okay, there he is. He's the best to ever do it. There's a reason why. And I'm actually looking for, I think the women's long jump right now is really compelling. Finally, we got Tara's jumping really well. Nichols was jumping well. Like Jasmine Moore's jumping. There's just a lot of women right around that 7-meter mark. Mahambo is still the one to beat. She's got a 7:20 and 7:30 in her legs. But there's just it's such a. Yeah, I should have made a list. There's just too much that's kind of I'm looking forward to so many events, but I don't think there's going to be many crazy, unbelievable surprises, especially in the field. I think the field, not that it's always chalk, but you just know there's a huge body of work. You know who's going to show up. You kind of know top 4 or 5 people. trying to think of anything else. Women's pole vault's wide open. Like, that really will be an interesting one. Like, Katie Moon's always showed up and jumped well when it matters, even if it comes down to like a third attempt on her opening height. She is no stranger to that environment, but then they've also said her and Nina Kennedy aren't going to share any more medals. So it just, and then Molly Caudry's jumping lights out now. All of them, I don't know, like, they're all great. Like, all the events are going to be it's the Olympics. Yeah, now I'm getting excited.
All right, I'm about to pinpoint a little bit on this because you keep mentioning Longhorns, and Fenton and I were just talking about this. So there are 10 Longhorns just solely in track and field. I'm an Aggie. 10 Aggies are going.
Oh,
nice.
Oh.
Mississippi State, I know that's where you started out. There's
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
Bulldogs, and then there's 4 Clemson Tigers going.
Thanks,
Yes.
Liv.
Yeah.
Thanks
Throw
for
that
making
out
sure
there.
that we knew where we sat.
So which Longhorn are you excited to watch compete?
Julian Alfred.
Ooh, I like that
Yeah.
pick.
Julian Alfred has this like puncher's chance of getting a good start in the final. Like, she doesn't have that super long collegiate season under her belt. Like, she ran like 1,000 races last year and still managed to run really well late into the summer. And I think that she's going to time it up. She didn't have to run at really intense trials to make it to Paris. And I think Floreal knows what he's doing. So I think that's there could be an Olympic gold medalist wearing burnt orange this summer.
I like that pick. What do you think of our guy Quincy Wilson? We're huge fans of him over here.
I think it's awesome. Like, I can't believe what he just ran in Gainesville. That was ridiculous. Like, it just keeps it. And we got the chance to talk to his coach a little bit, and his coach is just effusive about the kind of young man he is and how he's like, this is not shocking to me at all. It's like, really? It's like, no, the kid shows up, he works hard every day, and he just enjoys what he's doing. He's not afraid of anybody, he's respectful, but he's just going to show up and race. And I was like, oh, that's so refreshing to hear, is that someone's just racing. No one's talking about, the plan is this, and my coach is this, and we're just working on the first half of the race, or haven't done speed work yet, and we're doing this, and like, I just got to do this with whatever. The kid is lining up, racing, and beating grown men. It is awesome. It's awesome. He ran like 44:20.
Yeah.
That is so nuts. And Vernon Norwood got pulled to another personal best. I think our relay pool at this point might be better than the guys that are running the Open 4. Like, it's awesome. It is awesome. That men's 4x4 is going to be sick. Yeah. What if he anchors? What if Quincy Wilson anchors?
Okay.
Ooh.
There's no way
I'm
he
going to
anchors.
put you on the spot for this because this has been like the topic of conversation all this week. Do you see him running mixed relay only? Do you see him running the full men 4x4 relay? Do you see him doing both? Like,
I could see him
from
doing
your
both.
prediction?
I think is the real question, is there any shot he gets into the men's 4x4 final?
Yes.
Ooh, the final?
I think he probably runs the mixed,
Okay.
has a great split, and they go, yep, you're ready to rock. Yeah. So if he runs mixed, and then he runs the prelims of the 4x4 in the final, it's 3 races, perfect.
Who's out? Who's out? You got
I know, there's
our
only
3
4
teammates.
spots.
You got Rye Benjamin. Ooh.
I don't know.
I don't think it matters. Just if you look at the shape he's in and what he's been able to do, I think you have a riot if he's not on that 4x4. Riot.
I agree. Like, going into Gainesville, I was like mixed relay for sure. But then he popped off with the 44:20, and I was like, he just won this race, and he's hungry. That kid will dig deep, and I think after Gainesville, I was like, if Team USA does not put him at least in the first round of the 4x4, like, I just want the kid to get a medal, But I really think he can hold his own.
Yeah.
I really do.
That's what he's proven.
Yeah.
Like, if you just do that whole thing like athlete 1, athlete 2, and you put the resumes and the season and what they've been able to do, he's your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, 2 days to go for you. Any parting thoughts for people that are going to get to hear you on broadcast? And
I don't know. Just be gentle, Like, I'm doing my best.
at Trey Hardee, is that where they can reach you?
Yeah. I kind of stay low key on social media until it's around a big event, and so I'll be pretty active from Paris, just putting stuff up and maybe do a live deal. I tried to do a podcast last year, but it just got the wind out of those sails left the moment my wheels touched the ground in Budapest. But yeah, I'll try to be active, send notes, send questions, send whatever. Yeah.
Top questions go on broadcast, right?
Yeah, we can make it happen. Make it happen.
Is Snoop Dogg gonna be up there in the booth with you? I saw on Instagram where you were helping him with the pole vault.
Yeah, I got to.
Does he have a future in that event?
He doesn't want a future in the event. He's like, not. Again, I was getting way in the weeds really quick. I was like, look, you gotta see the soft side of the poles, like right here. He's like, dog, man, how do I land on the pit? I'm like, okay, so when you go up and you're gonna invert and see the pole has all this stored energy, and then when it releases, you're connected, and hey man, do I land on my stomach or my back? I was like, oh, just land on your back. He's like, thank you. And then he walks by. I was like, okay, sorry, Snoop.
Did he get off the ground?
No. But he did.
Really thinking he was going.
But he did run that 200.
I saw that.
Like he could run. He's okay. He's in good shape.
The thing I was most impressed about was like Wallace looked like he was running like 8-minute mile pace and ran like 30 seconds. I was like, man, we might be able to get Wallace back out there.
Oh yeah, I've talked to him about doing some Masters stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that conversation?
We're both. No.
I would totally tune in for that.
Very special. It sounds like there might be a FloTrack Masters Invitational in the works.
I like the sound of
We
that.
can make something happen.
Make something happen
Yeah.
at UT.
Yeah, right? Master Olympics, is that what we're calling?
I mean,
Ooh.
we might have to change the name.
I don't think you can say Olympic. Yeah, we can call it something.
The Masters Games, all right.
Trey Hardee
Master
Invitational.
Trey Hardee Invitational. I like that
Old
too.
people only.
The Trey Hardee Senior Invitational.
There you go.
I know that conflicts with your actual name, but like.
We can make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I love that.
We'll talk about it after Paris.
Trey, thanks for coming in.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
Awesome
much for
having you.
joining us. Safe travels. We're looking forward to hearing your knowledge on the sport. Thank you so much for all that you do too.
Yeah. Anytime.